Henri Robuchot, Senior Programmer Analyst with Test Automation at Medavi Blue Cross.
Well, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the introduction. I would like to bring back to mind a certain game that we all had as a childhood, in our childhood, which was a lot of fun, but also a bit chaotic. This game is called Jenga Blocks. Now, Jenga Blocks was this game where you took these wooden pieces and you would basically stack them together in order to make the highest tower possible, and then gradually you would actually take these blocks, remove them from the bottom, and then place them on the top just to make it even higher. This tower, we feel, is a bit similar to MLT's situation, where we believe that MLT has all these plans for the future where we want to be able to grow in different ways and require all this expansion. But we do want to make sure that the base of this tower is actually really strong in order to be able to build that tower high up without it collapsing on itself. So thank you for being here. My name is Justin, this is Yannick, and this is Isabel, and we will present to you our solution for MLT. So just a brief agenda on what we're going to be going over. We will be going over just a bit of what the situation is right now, just to sum it up for everyone, make sure that everyone's on the same page. We will go through a few alternatives that we believe are viable, followed by which one we believe should really be the recommendation to adopt, and that will allow the company to drive. We will go through a quick implementation phase, as well as some metrics, financials, and then a few key takeaways.
All right, so the current situation of MLT in Moncton's landscape is that it's really innovative and made-to-measure solutions to create value-added products to their customers. In addition, they're providing a service to informations and communication technology field. So they're really providing a planning, design, and management of network facilities and IT development of software, as well and database to monitor facilities, in addition to they're doing business consulting services. In the end, it's the goal of reducing costs and maximizing efficiency. Now, the landscape of Moncton in the IT environment is very competitive. There is CGI Elite, EMC2, Medavi Blue. So there's a lot of competition, it's very fierce. Now, what really differentiates MLT is that they're really providing this authenticity of services to their clients. So they're becoming reliable and responsive to their customer. They're assessing and reassessing the priorities of their customers. And in the end, the goal is that the customers are partners. They're going to be part of the solution in this agenda block. They're going to be put back in so they can keep going higher and higher. And it's really about building trust and relationships with these partners.
So in choosing the best blocks for our Jenga foundation, we thought of decision criteria in order to choose the best foundation. So the first one is, of course, to fill the requirements at MLT. So this is to set goals, to be able to establish tasks, ensure follow-up with clients, organize and filter information for decision in those projects, and finally get a really quick picture. We also added the decision criteria to reduce the time frame. Currently, it takes 6 to 8 months to collect the information from the client, because MLT wants to create the most customized solution for their clients. We aim to reduce that to 4 to 12 months, thanks to a better workflow. We also expect this to better customer satisfaction, as well as increased cash flow because of better turnover on projects. Other criteria is to be able to support the growth that MLT is working for. We want that Jenga tower to go up. This means higher volume of transactions, bigger files, more users on the workflow application. We also want to support international expansion and also handle external users, such as the clients or the providers. Finally, we also have risk. This means the cost of the application, also information security, and finally, whether we decide to make or buy the solution, it means implementation risk or the risk of a failed development.
Now, there are a few alternatives that we considered to address all of these, and there were a few that made a lot more sense to us. These were the three that we thought were viable alternatives that we will go over a bit more soon. So there is the possibility of making that proprietary software. There is also that alternative of buying an off-the-shelf solution that's already made, or you can actually buy an off-the-shelf solution and still slightly customize it through certain methods. So this is just a matrix just to help us visualize a bit with the 6 pillars that we just went through. Just what makes the most sense in terms of a solution for MLT. Now, off the bat, you can immediately see that buying the solution pre-done, not customizing it or whatsoever, doesn't seem to be the most viable option for the company. It doesn't seem to make sense in terms of the touch point as well as the adaptive style of the company. However, you can also see that the definitely most prominent and viable solution is the proprietary solution that you would develop in-house. The only problem with this that we believe would be overcome definitely in the long run would be more from a cost standpoint, and we do believe that this would actually cancel out in the future, and we will go over that in October.
So now that we've made a decision to make the application, this is the plan for building a very strong foundation. In the short term, we want to build this workflow software in order to strengthen relationships with client, which is most important to you. It's your competitive advantage. And we called it the link. In the long term, we are looking to integrate business intelligence with that application in order to better streamline processes. And this would also allow for faster client collection as well as drafting solutions. So for building this app, the short-term strategy, classic project constraints, we have time, budget, and scope. As for time, we aim for 6 months, budget 50,000, and scope all the aforementioned requirements in the decision criteria. In order to complete this, you will need extra resources. We suggest hiring local freelance developers. This also is great for you because you are looking to hire 40 more people in the next 3 years. So this is a great way to test new talent and see if you actually want to hire them full-time later on, retain them. We suggest a front-end developer, a UX UI specialist. This means experienced user interface, as well as a back-end developer, a data architect, and a business system analyst. A business system analyst is someone who translates business requirements into software requirements.
Now, we just wanted to give you a quick overview of a bit how we view this actual application and what it would look to a user. Now, this is basically just the basic login page. So this is where you would go if you wanted to access it. It is all protected by different usernames, different passwords, which are all unique to each individual, which obviously helps a lot with the whole security side. Now, we also wanted to give you a bit of an overview of what it would look in terms of the employees page. So if the employee just logged in from the previous page, this is where he would land. He would have his list of clients, he would have pending tasks that he has to get to, or people that he has to communicate with, or he would be able to have goals set, right, in terms of requirements for the different projects and what has to be done. He would obviously also have the possibility of having a calendar in there, as well as an inbox for messaging. In terms of the client perspective, it's slightly different, but also kind of similar. There are the different projects that the client is involved in, which he can keep track of, which allows him to be a lot more transparent with everything, and it will increase his involvement in the whole project. He does have the progress of his projects as well, so we can see those regular updates and whatnot. Examples as well could be, for example, I think our computer just died, but yeah, I think the computer just died. But examples as well could be, for example, right, you have to send that organizational chart to Hugo, I think was our example, right? So it could be.
You can use
Yeah,
sure. Thank you. I guess you
you
guys
guys
can
need
follow
to.
it. Thank you.
Oh,
But yeah, so that's what I was saying. So it's kind of the same thing where you can actually make sure that that person remains involved. He sees all the deadlines, he sees all these things, and it would definitely help in terms of client involvement as well.
As for the long-term strategy, we are first looking to be able to do business intelligence on current data sets with current clients. And then we want to appoint the research and development leader, Claude Morin, as the Agile product owner, as well as Daniel Leblanc as the Agile Scrum Master, as he is the project manager with the most experience in the company. Finally, we also need extra resources for analytics. Again, as we mentioned, the company is looking to hire a lot more people, and analytics is a great way to hire more people and to benefit the company.
So for the implementation, right now what we want to do is take charge and really go with what's going to happen in terms of implementing these strategies and solutions. So the first point is, like she said, hire project management professional Daniel Leblanc to really oversee and support what's going to happen, because he's going to take charge and really make sure there's a trickle-down process for the employees that they can actually start with what's going to happen and everyone's on the same page. Secondly, you're going to have this IT executive champion, so the IT specialists were Evan Fournier or Paul Franklin, and just like what Daniel Leblanc was going to do is really to just keep emphasizing this trickle-down process for employees, and the goal is really to complete this application by 6 months. And what we're going to do with this timeline is that, so it's going to go through an agile project management process, and it's really to have, so you're going to plan, you're going to design, you're going to develop, and you're going to test. And for the first months and for the first 2 months, it's really to develop and really to see how it's going, and fix any, there's like a sprint, see if any bugs are going to be fixed in the process. During the third month, there is employee training for the best clients. So the best clients are really those that are on board. You've been in relationships with them for a while already, and you want to be able to communicate with them that this is an ongoing test and it's going to benefit them, but also the whole relationship as a whole. And really, the employees are going to understand that, and the employees working with them can actually overlay what's going to happen in the future. In the fourth month, same thing, agile project management method, but the people that worked with these best clients are going to become these IT champions, these the link champions that are going to be able to explain to the employees the training and really go with them through the process of how everything's going to happen. And finally, in the sixth month, it's really about you plan, design, you develop, and you test, and then you roll out to the long-standing clients to really, it's kind of an alpha, and then you can just go ahead with it. So, sorry, that was the fifth month. In the sixth month, then you go with the rollout, and there's a continued training throughout the whole company. There's outbound marketing to potential and existing clients. So you can do trial runs with your clients, like at a personal level, and continuing on this type of partner type relationship. And then after those next 6 months, within the year, there is the integration of the software with the existing clients. There's maintenance and bugs and tweaks, fixes of the application.
So now, for the long-term implementation of BI, first, of course, we need to hire expertise. Then it's going to go into making sure we have the right tracking abilities. You can't analyze information that is incorrect, that's incomplete. So we need to make sure that the extraction of data is happening, that what we need to be tracked is indeed tracked. And then in the same vein, it's about data integrity. Is it clean? Is there mistakes? Is there redundancies? Once all of this is settled, we can go into actually analyzing the data, analytics. And then finally, go into dashboarding, more visualization expertise within the company, maybe even real-time graphs. Finally, the dream is to go into predictive analysis, which is a bit more complicated business intelligence that's about predicting outcomes that haven't happened yet.
Now, in terms of KPIs and metrics, we obviously have to track this project. We also have to track down how everything's going, obviously. Now, we did say that we believe that this will take approximately 6 months. This is obviously very important to track as well, right? So we do have to follow whether whether we're on schedule, whether each month we're getting to those right points, especially considering this agile method, which is sometimes a bit less precise in terms of milestones. So it is very important to keep track of where we are in the process. There are obviously cost milestones as well, so we want to make sure that we're not necessarily going over budget on everything, and that we are actually taking the appropriate measures in order to remain within that budget. We do also believe that using a balanced scorecard for client onboarding would be very useful. So this would obviously give us feedback, we give you feedback on how your client's doing, how they feel about this, do they feel it's transparent, do they feel like they're being involved, which we do believe is extremely important to you. Lastly, we do believe that employee engagement surveys, similar concept. We want to make sure that your employees are happy with it, that they believe that it will serve the right purpose, and that we're not missing the mark on the entire project. Now, in terms of financials, obviously, everyone, I'm sure you're wondering, does this make sense? Will I make money out of this? How is that going to affect me financially? We do believe that, we basically broke it down a bit, so we do believe that in terms of developing the actual app, we had mentioned that we would hire 6 people for the 6 months, and it would cost approximately $150,000 to develop the app in the first place. We also mentioned that we believe that in order to maintain this app, get rid of the bugs, get rid of all of this, make sure that the integration is done properly, that this would be approximately $180,000, but spread over a much longer period of time, just until we make sure that's fully bulletproof. Now, however, considering this investment, we do believe that at the end of 4 years, you will be able to save over $400,000 a year. Considering all the growth that you're expecting, as well as the increasing number of employees and everything, we do believe that this is extremely viable, which means that in the long run, you would definitely be saving a lot of money.
As for risk mitigation, what if that foundation is not so strong after all? There is a chance that agile project management is not very used within the company, and that employees do not want to use it. So the option would be to go with the most used methodology of project management in the company. Another would be project failure. So in order to make sure that there is no failure, would be to make sure that there's user involvement, management support, as well as emphasizing the need for describing the user requirements very well and planning the solution. This is shown in many researches to be very impactful on the success of projects. A final risk would be information security. Hiring an IT audit team as well as planning for security is very important because there is sensitive client information security.
So in terms of the key takeaways, really we're just building upon authentic and value-added services catered to the partners and really continuing on building this relationship and developing trust. Secondly, it's really the implementation of Link, which is a workflow and communication application, which will help this development of trust between both your company and the customers. And thirdly, it's this business intelligence that we're thinking long-term, streamlining client information collection and the potential for solution drafting in the future, which will help the growth of the company.
So we're talking about BI in terms of streamlining processes, fast-tracking data collection, drafting. This ultimately means reducing cost. But the dream is not only to reduce cost, but also increase revenue. With predictive analysis, you can find potential customers, match them with the next best solution out of your portfolio of services. This will boost sales and so increase revenue. And now for the next steps.
So what we're going to do right after this is draft this project management plan to really go ahead with this implementation process. Secondly, you want to plan for a change movement by informing employees of the upcoming project so that there's really a company-wide understanding of what's going to happen in the future. Thirdly, you want to evaluate the internal resources if you're able to actually implement this project and implementation. And then fourthly is really the review of potential for freelance hiring, which will help the implementation of the project, as well as potentially adding it to the workforce of the company.
Now, we opened just before we closed the floor for Q&A, we did actually start the presentation with bringing back that old game that was Jenga blocks. For everyone here who has played, everyone remembers that The most painful part of playing that game is actually putting the tower back together once it falls. Now, obviously what we want to do here, and what's to keep in mind, is the fact that our entire solution is based on making sure that that foundation is really strong in order to build that tower and not have to re-pick up all those pieces, because it is much more of an effort than simply making sure that that foundation is really strong. Thank you very much.
So you had technical difficulties, I guess, that's bound to happen, and good recovery, so it's okay.
It's part of the competition.
I'm glad you guys found the link, actually, so by doing this software. There was a lot of personal touch in your presentation of MLT, there was a mention of a cost of $50,000 at the earlier presentation for the 6 months, and then at the end it showed 150.
Yeah.
So,
so
is it two separate things, or?
No, so I can take that. So that was just the first 50,000. We're sorry if that wasn't clear. It was by month, or not by month, but it was for every 2 months. So we had kind of broken it up when we did the implementation. So it was for every 2 months, which in total the whole development was approximately 150.
This seems to be workflow management. Is there a specific client relation embedded in this, or it's mostly just where the workflow will bring us our own vision of this?
We saw it as mostly a workflow tool at first, so that's the short term, the first step. That's managing relationship. There's like an inbox section, and also like pending requests or next tasks, as well as sharing documents. They can both upload documents. Further on, when business intelligence will be implemented, it will be about collecting what those organizational charts and other documents were in order to streamline processes for like future projects. So there is an aspect of client relationship management, but it's not a CRM per se.
I'm good.
So when do you plan to do the testing of the solution?
Tomorrow.
So like the agile project management method is, it's like the sprints, right? You go through the cycle and you test it, and it's very much like you can do the next step, like start the draft, and as soon as that's done, go ahead with the testing. The design, the developing, the testing, right? So it can really be done as the timeline goes. So after the first month, right? So, okay.
So I said I'm good, but the 6 months, isn't it a very optimistic timeline
I don't.
for the
think so.
short-term solution?
Yeah, given that we plan to hire 5 people full-time, we think it's realistic.
But it's
Since
not
they're not-
cost effective.
Sorry?
It's not very cost effective if we hire
It is
5
more expensive, and we thought of that, but since we were looking at how MLT is looking to expand, double its employees within 3 years, it's a great way to slowly incorporate people, test them out, and then finally decide to employ them. So it is more expensive, but ultimately MLT is looking to hire new people, so it diminishes the risk of employing bad employees.
And it's going to be offset in the future, right? With this implemented, it can help with the potential clients in the future, right? And less costs.
And that's why the 6 months is short, given that they're full-time. We thought of a longer time if we were going to hire agency or external providers, but since it's not the case, it's a shorter period of time.
You mentioned a saving of $400,000 per year. Can you provide a little bit more of how did you get to?
Yeah, so that was, I would almost say, a conservative number, to be honest, because our approach was basically determine that you would be saving a lot on your projects. So we assumed that you would be saving a minimum of 2 months on average per project because of the whole like data gathering, more transparency would be a lot more efficient. That being said, we reduced like the cost of that, so we did assume that the average employee made approximately $50,000 a year. So we deducted those 2 months and basically came up with $100,000.
So, the mandate you were given is about improving the relationship that MLT has with the many clients, the existing ones, and the potential clients. So how there isn't a direct link, but somehow reducing costs and maximizing efficiency. Do you think that will be like, that's the way to improve that relationship?
I think it's more of an outcome of a better relationship. So if that relationship is better managed thanks to the app and that the documents and other information is well communicated, it will fast track projects and also even get you to cross-sell your existing clients or upsell them, get bigger projects, more contracts. So it's more of a result than the opposite.
Thank you.